So my last question of this episode that I got to ask is actually some news that came recently. North Dakota State has uh, moved up to FBS play to join the Mountain West Conference in 2026 immediately. And now North Dakota State is pushing for immediate postseason college football playoff access in their first season of FBS. Should this be allowed? Do you think North Dakota State should be granted this, or do you think they have to wait like these other programs have had to in the past?
You shouldn't have to wait. If you're good enough to win, you should not have to wait. That's the stupidest thing ever. It's not like, yeah, you shouldn't have to wait. It's dumb. My question to you, and you can answer that question as well, but like, was this a good move for North Dakota State? When I first saw this, one of my friends on Twitter kind of tweeted at me and said, "Hey, like, what do you think about this?" And I was like, "This is horrible. Like, you go from being a big fish in a small pond to a minnow in the ocean. Like, the college football playoff is trying to actively eliminate the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC, ACC. They're all trying to eliminate non-power four schools from making the playoff. And then you make this leap up. And so to me, you're kind of in this like ambiguous, like middle ground of you're not an FCS team anymore. So you don't get that credit for being the big dog and the number one team. Like whether you are, you aren't, people still, you have that brand. And then you're not in one of the big conferences either. And so going to the Mountain West for football only, by the way, like what does that do for the program? Like I in the Mountain West, by the way, is really spread out as far as like schools
Mhm.
going. So the travel is a little bit more different. I'm not a huge fan of the move. If you could get yourself into the Big 12, different story. But that's not where we are. And so I don't know. I don't like the move at all. Should they be eligible? Yeah, they should be eligible. James Madison should have been eligible too. They couldn't. Liberty too. So like they should be eligible, but I don't know that I like them moving up from FCS. I think they could have stayed exactly where they were and it'd have been just fine.
I'm going to take the opposite approach. I absolutely love this move. I think they peaked at FCS. I think they're looking at around the competition, like what else do we have to prove at this level? Kind of like, in Appalachian State, they moved up to FBS not a long time ago, even almost, I would say it's been almost 10 years, or at least 8 years since they did so. And they didn't even have the success that North Dakota State did at FCS level. I think, I was reading an article on USA Today, and they're talking about, who has the most oil money in America and outside of Texas and New Mexico is North Dakota. And it kind of sparked my thought of like, okay, could this be a serious NIL contender team? Probably not immediately, but I think you have a program who is 100 or a school rather that is 100% focused on their football program. And I think that that has to be the kind of start of where the winning tradition or even just joining the FBS kind of starts because they have the nice dome. They have the fans. The coaching seems to be pretty good at that level. And I think that, like I said, they kind of peaked at FCS level. Their level is the Mountain West. And I think that with what college football is turning into, I don't know how long they're going to sign a deal going into the Mountain West, but I can guarantee you after 5, 6, 7 years that the Big 12 or a new Pac 12 might be calling. And I think they're going to be up for a bid for one of those major conferences if other things keep moving around. So I wouldn't be surprised if we look up in 7 or 8 years from now, North Dakota State is in maybe even the Big 12 or they're in the Pac 12 or something like that because the school is going to have the resources for it. I just think that it's a good move because they have peaked at the FCS level and really nothing other than that because how many FCS titles are you going to win before people keep not even saying that it's unimpressive, but like if North Dakota State winning the national championship at FCS level is not impressive to you anymore. I know it's not. We've seen it every other year. So if they win the Mountain West, it seems it's like okay, the school is taking a step in the right direction. They're playing better competition, and they're still winning. So that would be the ultimate test for them. But I think that's a great move. I think the school deserves it. Um, they deserve the money. They deserve the NIL that's going to come with it, the sponsorships, all of that comes with it. They're gonna rebuild that campus. They're going to have new training facilities. They're going to keep that dome because it's nice and it's like a staple of what they do. But I'm happy that this school is moving up. I think it's about time. I think they could have done this 2 years ago when all the conference realignment was happening. And I think that weirdly enough, they kind of make the Mountain West an intriguing conference this year. And
Yeah, yeah.
adding that school, I think it just puts a different dynamic into things. And now it's like, okay, if North Dakota State moves up into the Mountain West and they start kicking ass, that's kind of another pressure situation that Kirk Cignetti's put on everybody else. It's like, all right, this team who hasn't had the resources they've been, meddling for a little time now, and now they pop up and they start beating the shit out of everybody. That could be a great look for North Dakota State, and it could just be that fire that needs to be lit on every other coach's ass at that level to recruit harder, to be better, and to put more money into the university. So I think overall it's a great move. And I think that we will see North Dakota State probably moving up again at some point in the next decade.
I just disagree completely because like first off, if they made the move immediately, then you could have also made the move to like what is rebuilding as the Pac-12 or just the Big 12. The Big 12 has freaking Cincinnati in it. You could squeeze your way in North Dakota State down into that.
I
So
don't think so. I think Cincinnati's too big of a commodity for North Dakota State. I still a very national recognized school. I don't think you could jump to the Big 12 immediately because you don't have the resources yet. And I think that you have to actually prove that you can win on this level. James Madison didn't go into the ACC. So I think that, they go into the Sun Belt and it's just a little bit different. Now they're kicking ass in their conference. And so
mhm.
maybe in a couple years or some several years, they might move up again. But I think that's the trade that you're going to have to make because if you just throw them to the Wolves in the Big 12, it's like, okay, now this team is not going to see any success for literally another 5 or 6 years because they're just being over recruited.
Which is fine. I just you look at what the advantages are to North Dakota State and how they were able to win over other FCS schools when it came to recruiting. Okay, we have a dome, so that's something. If it's a home game, you have to play outside, which is nice. We're also the best team. We are the
Hmm.
Alabama of FCS, and we put guys in the NFL. Consistent. Our quarterback played like 5 games here, went number 3 or 4 overall in the draft. So like
Hmm.
they have consistently proven that this is a program worthy of NFL scouts, of really good players, and they win. You trade all that and you go, okay, well, we're not actually going to be in the FCS anymore. So you go from recruiting like the very best guys to slightly under recruited guys to play FCS football to now like the guys who have offers from, North Dakota State now have offers from UNLV, better program, have offers at Boise State, more established, better program at this level. And so you have that and you walk into a situation where the upside isn't there anymore. There's no upside to being in a non-power four conference. You are getting squeezed out. You have to be the number one. There are 134, FBS programs or whatever the number is. You have to be number one of all the schools outside of that power four. That is a very tall task as opposed to just being in the top 15 of FCS and still like doing exactly what you've been doing. And then you wait for a conference shakeup, you wait for something to happen, and then you can jump into a new system, a new conference. And by the way, the North Dakota State Dome is ass. Like if you just pull it up, it is them and Northern Iowa who recruited me. Coach came to the house, didn't offer me though, so I'm gonna shit on them too. Like their dome is also ass. Like they need to really revamp it, and so maybe that's why they can't get into the Big 12. They don't have a big enough stadium. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of these schools moving up who are elite at the FCS level because you just fall into this. We saw James Madison. Everybody was shitting on James Madison because they made the playoff, and it's like they didn't deserve to be there. They whatever Oregon, beat them or whoever they lost to. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know. I prefer really good teams. I prefer really nice brands to be and stay where they are. And if you're going to make a move, then you move to what's going to be like the next power conference to join that power four to be the fifth. Whatever that conference is, then you can join because the money's there. But to go to the Mountain West is just like you're in the gray land of nothing, and you're in the North Dakota of the country when it comes to conferences. I don't know that the NIL money is going to flood,
Well, I guess we'll
NDSU
just
like
have
they
to
think.
disagree. I'm seeing, I want to know how long the athletic director has been at North Dakota State because I think he's looking at the situation like, okay, we've hit our ceiling. We keep bumping our head into the ceiling, actually. How many more of these FCS trophies can we fit in here before everybody looks around like, okay, what would mean more? FCS championship or possibly getting into the college football playoff as an FBS. And I think that outweighs everything. And they've already raised $25 million for the program. I think that you have a better chance of getting a good coach in that program to elevate the entire school. And you're one, not Kurt Signetti away. I think he's a one of one, but you're one guy like that that's willing to take pride in a position or in a school and really bring them to the levels of success that North Dakota State would deem, I guess, the standard for them because I don't think their new standard is definitely going to be like 6 or 7 wins until they can break through and win the conference. Do I think that they have a chance to win the Mountain West Conference? I'm not going to put it at 0%. It's definitely not likely, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go in there and start beating the crap out of the San Jose States and stuff like that. I wouldn't be shocked at all. because now I think that you open up yourself to an even bigger palette of recruits. And these recruits going to North Dakota State is not FCS anymore. You have NFL scouts who are going to be scouting you against other NFL talent. I just think it elevates the entire program. And I think that they've been hitting their head on the ceiling for too long. And this is the right move to make. It is the only move for them to make, in my opinion.
Okay, and you're right. We will disagree on this one. I don't know that the Mountain West is the move. And now I will say if the college football playoff expands to 25 or 24 teams, and you do get a couple, G5s in there, then like yeah, you've got a shot. And if you're looking at it thinking that their
They
goal is to make the playoff,
That could be it. I mean, you never know. I think a lot of these conferences, these schools, these presidents, the athletic directors are about a year or two ahead of the public. So, if this making this move kind of tips off the signal like we're about to get 16 teams in the playoff, like we probably are. If at least not, we're going to get 14 with two buys. And I just think that's the way it's going. I think the playoff is this thing where people love it. It's better than the BCS bowl system or the bowl ranking system, but I think it's an evolutional thing where it's going to evolve into different, just different things. Like I think this college football playoff isn't here to stay at 12 for very long. And then when we get to 14 or 16, how long is it until we get to 20 or is 16 the max? I'm not really sure. It seems like this revolving door of things that the college football committee can't really decide on. But I do know one thing is that if a team like this is making a move into the Mountain West, that there's a chance that they're going to get some respect towards that committee in the playoffs in the future if they do expand.
okay. I'm with you. I hope that it works out for them. I just don't think that it's going to work out in the way they think. But like we talked about this in a couple episodes ago about how all the program money and the NIL money will dry up if there is some sort of economic uneasiness that happens. And all of this is just contingent on them being able to get $20 million a year. It's like, well, at some point, this is not going to be sustainable. And now
Mm.
you put yourself in a situation where you're going to lose out to what could be wealthier programs, and you're going to end up being a 6-5 team in the middle of the road, traveling yourself to Boise, Idaho, playing a game that nobody cares about. So I don't know. You go from like being an absolute champion and the gold standard to
Right.
whatever they're going to be.
Time to prove. Right. It could be a contender for team that has the most to prove in 2026 because they can't go to the Mountain West. Excuse me. They can't go to the Mountain West and fall flat. They can't win one or two games in the Mountain West and feel good about it just because they're playing better competition. So I think that is definitely a good point that you bring up.